Taking a seated posture upon your chair, shift from side to side, shift from front to back, and just establish a sense of connection with the chair beneath your sitting bones, the floor beneath your feet, feeling the arms and hands hang heavy at the sides of your torso. Let your gaze naturally move toward the horizon. And then pause here in a relaxed body to take a deep breath through the nostrils, and then traveling all the way down into the belly, feeling that lower abdomen expand and contract. And let's just let the shoulders, neck, and head sway a bit from one side to the other. It might even feel like one arm gets a little longer than the other. Feeling the shoulders remain relaxed and your deep core navigate this side to side swaying. If you start to feel your toes gripping into the earth, pull back a little bit. We're just trying to wake up. We're not trying to add any extra tension in the body just yet. And notice how your breath finds a natural rhythm as your shoulders, neck, and head sway gently from one side to the other. And then we'll come back to a nice tall spine and just gently rotate the shoulders. Kind of spinning the shoulder girdle around the axis of the spine. If you get too vigorous, you're probably going to bump your hands. So keep it nice and limited. We're just waking up. Feeling the muscles in the upper chest and upper back coming online. And then letting the shoulder girdle slow into stillness. You might draw a couple circles with the shoulders here, maybe some seesaw action. And then we'll let the hands find the tops of the thighs. You can either just slide your palms and fingers across the tops of the thighs, or maybe there's a gentle tapping that helps you to awaken. And then letting the hands just find the most comfortable resting place across the tops of your thighs. So let the knees sway from side to side while the shoulders, neck, head, and heart center rest in stillness. Still following the breath as it travels in, out, in a nice, steady, balanced cadence. And then bringing those legs into stillness. We'll start with some small marching steps, just really feeling the heels lift, the balls of the feet and the toes are so relaxed that they're dropping down away from the front of the ankles. You're feeling your navel center and the entire circumference of your waistband drawn gently inward to create stability. And feeling the hip flexors and quadriceps gently picking up one leg and then the other. And then we'll start externally rotating the hips, just creating a little bit of a drift of that bent knee, rotating at the hip joint so that knee is pointing closer to the side wall than the sky. At this point, if you want to add that gentle connection between fingers and the opposite shin, keep holding steady at the core as we continue to travel from one joint to the other, gently awakening, always moving in tandem with the breath. And the next time both footprints are flat to the earth, we'll continue marching, but this time we'll be lengthening. Hold on strong in the core. This isn't about how high you can lift your leg. It's about how strong and stable you can remain, and strong, stable, and tall in the torso. So you want that torso staying stationary, stability coming out of the waistband, and movement arising out of the hip flexors and quadriceps, and even the glutes and hamstrings. And then the next time both footprints land back to the earth, I'm gonna stay with the lower half of the body by taking the footprints nice and wide, rock gently to settle the pelvis. And when you're ready, hinge from the hips, slide the shoulders, neck, and head forward until your elbows rest gently on the thigh bones. You can feel a little bit of an awakening in the lumbar spine and perhaps in the hamstrings or even the inner thighs. There's lots of different potential awakenings here. And I'll give you the option here, once we're in this half forward fold, you have two options. You can either proceed a little further, letting your fingertips wrap around the shin bones and slide closer to the earth, perhaps even resting upon the earth beneath the shoulders, or leaving the elbows on the thigh bones and dropping one shoulder into the center space between your footprints, alternating with the other side. So we're adding some flexion with rotation, or just finding deeper flexion, or maybe you find time to experiment with both. But noticing which version feels more satisfying to your body. And either version, we're looking for a nice, easy, smooth breath. Might even let out an audible sigh. And then coming back to a neutral spine, we'll begin with a few motions of cat and cow, just guiding the heart center forward to extend the vertebrae of the spine, and then gently drawing the heart back to round the spine behind you in flexion. This is a very intentional transition through flexion and extension. We're going to move slow enough that we can feel the difference between flexion and extension along the length of your spine. Coming to rest along the length of your spine in neutral, fire up the core a little more assertively and let the elbows slide off the thigh bones and just dangle down into gravity. We'll take a reverse swan dive and let those arms and hands move far away from the heart in a V shape overhead. Then we're going to lengthen out one leg. You might have to rearrange your sitting bones because we're going to sit at the very forward edge of the chair, rotate the heart center with our outstretched V arms, and then digging in with your extended legs heel and holding a nice little micro bend at the knee. Lean over the extended leg with an exhale, and then we'll breathe back to our 5-point star. Reposition both feet flat, lengthen out the other leg. Don't forget to hold a micro bend, and as the exhale arrives, we'll just lean over the opposite extended leg. And then we're just going to slowly transition from one side to the other with a definite rotation of the shoulders, neck, and head. So we're getting some oblique work. Big, long, heavy arms extended against gravity, and then alternating from one side to the other. We're getting in some big ranges of motion here, firing up and stabilizing with the core. I'm just finding that my sitting bones have to be perched at the very forward edge so I don't feel any drag or tension on the backs of the thighs. And find a nice easy flow that works for your body. Notice where the body resists within this pattern and where the body opens and invites movement with ease. The next time you come back to those arms extended overhead, we're going to lengthen both arms. I mean, both arms and both legs. And we'll just feel the little stretching sensation of our energy bubble. Also feeling the stretching sensation for your arms and legs. Back side of the body active to hold you in gravity here. Slowly exhale, hands and arms back down to rest alongside the body. And we'll spin the heart center toward one side wall, just taking the transition into a warrior foundation. And that can mean several different things. You might bring that extended leg a little closer to extending directly forward if you're feeling a lot of tension in the inner thighs. You might want to drop your sitting bones a little further toward one side so that the back of your bent leg's thigh is safely supported across the front edge of the chair. We'll turn the heart center toward the side wall with the bent leg, coming into warrior one. If you're feeling a lot of pull and tension at the hips, stack your handprints atop the bent leg's thigh bone and use the strength of your arms to just gently bring the shoulders, neck, and head into alignment with the horizon before your bent legs, toes. This isn't about shoving the shoulders, neck, and head or shoving the hips into a specific organization. We're just feeling that gravitational pull toward the wall beside your chair in front of your bent legs, toes. If you reach a space after several breaths where the foundation feels stable, you might consider just lengthening one arm straight forward or all the way overhead, keeping the arm from the opposite side of the body, the long leg side of the body, crossed over the bent leg's thigh, just to give you a little more stability. If your core is feeling like it's warming up and getting pretty stable here, you might consider extending both arms forward to the horizon or lengthening both arms overhead to reach for the clouds. We'll add that surrendering warrior here. Lowering the hands to the bent leg's thigh will hinge the heart center over the bent leg, directing the crown of your head toward the horizon before you. And then using core strength as well as the strength of your arms, slowly return to arms either extended to the horizon or overhead. And we'll just alternate between those two postures, taking nice, easy bows. Deep, relaxed breath. And the next time your hands and arms outstretch overhead, will open up into warrior two, leveling out arms with the horizon, feeling a strong sensation of activation across the upper back, feeling the fingertips stretch away from one another, and the shoulders settle down and away from the ears. Dropping that forward elbow onto the forward leg's thigh, we'll slowly sweep the back hand overhead, coming into extended angle. You can lean into the forward elbow for support, or you might even consider letting that arm slide off the inner edge of the thigh and just pressing your extended arm into the inside edge of the forward leg's thigh. So a little less support for the shoulders, neck, and head. The core will need to fire up here just a little more assertively. Pause here, holding the posture, breathing deep and easy in extended angle. With an inhale, level out the arms, return to warrior two. And we'll lower hands, turn your heart center toward the forward leg, and we'll bend the back leg, coming into a hip flexor stretch and psoas stretch. Now both legs are bent at a 90-degree angle. That back leg's knee is dropped straight down beneath the hips. Level the hips, make sure that one sitting bone isn't dropping off the forward edge of the chair or hiked up higher than the sitting bone resting on the chair. You can place your hands wherever they can rest comfortably and hold you in this posture. And if you're not already feeling a good deep stretch right here in the hip flexor and the top of the thigh, pick up that back foot and send the toes even further back and press into the earth behind you. Fingertips on that loose hand can go into the lumbar spine, hips and shoulders level to the earth. You can add a back bend here, an extension of the spine. So that stretch is moving all the way through the length of the spine, all the way to the base of the throat. And then to finish this sequence, we'll neutralize the spine, turn your heart center toward the wall behind you, the backrest of the chair, one hand gripping each side, pressing down with the top of the foot behind you, feeling deep rotation and breathing into it. Unwind spinal rotation with your gaze. Pick up the back toes. And with both footprints flat to the earth, spin on your sitting bones and return to seated mountain. Take a moment here, just feeling and sensing into your body, noticing where you might be feeling areas of tension that we actually purposely grew out of muscle contraction, and where you might feel muscles that are a little more lengthened. And we'll move toward the other side from this balanced place of symmetry, spinning the sitting bones, maybe sliding your sitting bone that's remaining on the chair back toward the side. So the entire underneath area of the upper thigh is grounded across the front of the chair. We're going to take our warrior one posture on the other side. The biggest choice is where to put that back leg so the footprint can remain comfortably flat. There's always energy flowing back through that straightened leg. It's not just lying there limp in gravity. Once your foundation is in place, rotate shoulders, neck, and head in the same direction as your forward bent knee is pointing. You can hold on to the backrest of the chair, cross the midline of the body, and hold on to the opposite leg's thigh. This first few breaths in Warrior One are about stabilizing your foundation from the waistband on down through the bottoms of your feet. Tension is closer to the spine, footprints are softer. And then from here, you have the option. You can leave those fingertips crossing the midline of the body to the bent leg's thigh and experiment with lengthening the free hand either to the horizon or overhead. Feeling the spine grow tall toward the clouds while your foundation remains grounded to the earth. Notice the direction of energy that you sense when you breathe. When you breathe in, are you feeling energy rising up or energy flowing down to ground you further? There's no wrong experience here. We're just noticing how our body is allowing energy to flow. Then we'll extend those hands and arms, either both of them to the horizon or both all the way overhead. As you hinge from that forward leg's hip crease, let your hands stack onto the bent leg's thigh and slowly draw your shoulders, neck, and head forward. It's surrendering warrior. Press down into your footprints and return to arms outstretched to the horizon or overhead. Begin that nice slow pace of breathing and transitioning between surrendering warrior and that victorious warrior with an upright shoulders, neck, and head. You might even experiment with stacking and restacking your hands atop the forward thigh. So you're feeling the difference between left hand over right and right hand over left with each exhale. Make sure it's the core working here and not just the glute muscle on your back leg. Very easy for that back leg's glute to provide the bulk of the stabilization. We're going for waistband here. Your next inhale and arms outstretched overhead will rotate the shoulders, neck, and head, dropping into warrior two. Feeling the energies and the tense spaces in the body shift here. Notice where you had tension and where you currently sense tension. More than likely, we've had at least a small shift in tension. Be with warrior two, feeling energy flow down and ground you to the earth, and energy rising upward and to two horizons on either side. We'll let that forward elbow drop down, and that back hand's gonna float overhead. Gently activate rebound energy, draw in the navel center in preparation for removing our kickstand. We're gonna let that forward elbow drop off the thigh. Arm is fully lengthened and gently pressing into the inner thigh while the inner thigh presses into the arm. Big breath here. Draw in the navel center, soften the shoulders. Tension in the center, slowly fading into relaxation at the periphery. With each exhale, you can literally feel and sense gravity drawing you deeper. With an inhale, resist that gravitational pull and rotate shoulders, neck, and head back upright. We'll make the transition into our quadricep and psoas stretch. That back hand's gonna come all the way around and find a binding space. The back leg bends at the knee, and that knee drops straight down into gravity. We feel the top of the foot resting to the earth. You can tuck your fingertips on the free hand into your lumbar spine. And if you're not already feeling a deep stretch at the hip flexor and quadricep, pick up the top of the foot and move it a few inches behind you. Actively press into the top of the foot. Level the hips and shoulders parallel to the earth as best you can sense here. Also make sure that your inner thighs are gently active so that back knee isn't sliding away from the front legs of the chair. And then with an exhale, we'll send our gaze toward the backrest of the chair. Reposition your hands to either side of the backrest of the chair and use the strength of your arms to rotate at the waistband and align the shoulders, neck, and head with the back of the chair. And then if you really want to supercharge this, press actively into your top of your foot resting behind you. Draw in the inner thighs. Use the hands and arms to rotate just a little bit deeper. And don't forget to breathe here. Take in the tension. Unwinding with your gaze, turn the head first, and then slowly the shoulders. Pick up the toes behind you. Place both footprints flat to the earth. Spin on your sitting bones and return to seated mountain. Take a moment here to settle. Maybe shake off a little tension with your wrists and fingers, or do the same with lifting a foot and just shaking it out. Then you do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around. Finding neutral, settling into that space of comfort and balance within your body and your nervous system. Feeling balance and symmetry in the three planes of movement in all the joints of the body. From here, we'll slowly make the transition to standing. I'm going to move my footprints back, maybe an inch or two. I like to get the feet just a little bit closer to the front legs of the chair. Gives me some strength in pushing my body gently forward. And I can let my knees sway a little bit, just giving a signal to the body to soften and to not be rigid as we make this transition. And I'm going to bring hands to the heart. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of momentum today, you can add those counterweights of extending your arms straight forward to the horizon. There's no right or wrong. We're just making the transition with as much strength and grace as we can muster in the next breath. As you inhale, just slow it down. We're not looking for any momentum here. We want sheer muscle strength. Slide those sitting bones off the forward edge of the chair and slowly lengthen your legs. Let the hands drop down to either side as we find standing mountain pose. Position your standing posture so that you are behind the chair. Standing in mountain pose with fingers just resting gently across the backrest of the chair. And we'll just start taking some little step taps back. If you want to stretch the arch of the foot, you can drop your toes in the ball of the foot and then kind of roll back through the heel. That feels nice on the bottom of the foot. Another option would be to point the toes and just tap your toenails on the floor behind you. And anytime we move from left to right, we're working really hard to hold the hips in the center space, aligned with the spine. Even though we're shifting our weight from side to side, we're using core strength to hold the hips from that left to right sway. We're trying to center our weight. And then from here, when you bring one foot back, step it a little further forward so that the toes are either in alignment with or even extending in front of the back legs of the chair. And then pick up the opposite foot and step it a little more aggressively back. We're looking for a railroad track configuration in a high lunge. And we'll call this one of our balance poses for today. You have the option of centering the shoulders as best you can over the hips. And that's going to create a little tension in the lumbar spine. If you're feeling like this is a lot of tension and balance, leave your fingertips on the backrest of the chair. Another option would be to lengthen one arm out to the side, maybe both, just to give you a little more control over the weight of the upper body as you balance here in high lunge. Check in with the toes, make sure they're not gripping. And hold your gaze gently to the horizon. Don't forget to breathe. Feel your body automatically compensating for the sway through gravity, holding you here in high lunge, breathing deeply. And then placing hands to the backrest of the chair, push into that back footprint and step forward, returning to mountain. Notice the differing sensations from hips to knees to ankles and feet. And then we'll pick up the opposite footprint and step it back. Find your high lunge where your hands can rest lightly upon the backrest of the chair. The back leg is straight and strong. And of course, the forward knee is bent over the ankle. We don't want that knee protruding too far in front of the ankle, just because that can affect knee stability. Level the pelvis, level the shoulders. You're feeling like you have found your center of balance. You can remove the hands and arms. Just reaching out to the horizon on either side while holding your gaze steady. And then bringing the hands lightly back to the backrest, push into the back footprint and step the feet together. We're going to walk our feet back into halfway lift. Slowly making our way into an inversion. We're starting with halfway lift. If you want to add a little sway of cat and cow here, feel free. Flexing and extending, just moving the heart center closer to the earth and then picking it up and drawing it further away. Rib cage is almost like a suspension bridge between the anchor of your legs and hands. And then slowly bring your gaze just below the horizon. Step 1 foot forward. We're coming into pyramid, and we're keeping our footprints in railroad track configuration. Going for that stretch on the back of the legs in preparation for our next sequence. Hands can rest onto the backrest of the chair, or if it feels safe for your body, the back side of your body to stretch deeper, lower your hands to the seat of the chair. Holding the neck and head as a natural extension of the spine. And just keep a watchful eye, because the hips more than likely are going to want to drift toward the side of your mat that houses the back leg. Hold the pelvis balanced between both footprints. There's a natural tendency to kind of sway away from the midline toward the outside edge of your mat on the side of the back leg. Use your inner thighs, use your proprioceptive skills to hold on to strong alignment here as we awaken the QLs, the glutes on one side of the body, hamstrings. You can either keep your hands where they are or walk them back to the backrest of the chair. Maybe they were already there. And step the feet together, switching sides in your pyramid pose, balancing the hips between your footprints, and then testing out your capacity for forward flexion, looking for the maximum edge and being careful to not exceed that. Externally rotate the shoulders gently to maintain width in the chest. And be sure to check in with the navel center, just gently drawing it up and closer to the spine. Inhaling, walk the hands back toward the backrest. Push into the back footprint, step together, and then we're going to flip the chair around so that now we're facing the seat of the chair. Instead of standing behind it, we're standing in front of the chair facing the seat. So we just flip the chair 180. And we'll take a big sun breath here. Press the palms together, hinge at the hips. Let the hands sail past the heart center and land onto the seat of the chair. And you might consider for this next sequence, instead of holding your hands flat to the seat, or the surface of the seat of the chair, wrap your fingers around the outside edges and let your thumbs point to the horizon. And we'll take some steps back. We're looking for down dog here, but because we're building a sequence, we're going to want to take those footprints as far back as we can. So keep walking the footprints further back at hip distance. Soften the knees. Lower the weight of the shoulders, neck, and head into gravity till you feel the longest space between your tailbone and your fingers wrapped around the seat of the chair as you can comfortably maintain. And the reason for that is we're going to start lengthening out the legs and transition to up dog. This is going to require some strength in the arms and across the upper back. Pushing into your footprints, engage the navel center and pelvic floor, swivel through the hips and shoulders, and gently bring your gaze to the horizon and let your hips drop in to gravity. So we've got spinal extension here as we rest in up dog. And then we'll use our core strength to swivel, pick up the hips, draw the hips back into alignment over the heels, and return to your long dog, that downward facing dog. And we'll inhale once again. Arms are straight, strong, and long. Shoulders stable. Hinging at the hips and shoulders. We're swiveling at the shoulders. and a little more of a hinge. There's more of a hinge in the shoulders as you draw back, and maybe more of a hinge in the hips as you float forward. Heels are picking up and you're rolling through the bottoms of the feet for a nice stretch here. This is up dog to down dog. Let your breath flow naturally between flexion and extension of your spine. Strong, stable arms. Nice, easy breaths. We've got all the time in the world. There's no rush. We're not looking to rely on momentum. We want sheer strength on display here. Especially as you inhale and draw forward, stay stable across the upper back and through the shoulder joints. And the next time that you stretch the spine long in this long downward facing dog, we'll take small steps forward until your toes are coming dangerously close to the front legs of the chair, and then reverse swan dive. Slowly rise, let the hands and arms float all the way overhead. Then we'll take lateral flexion here. As you stand in upward salute, wrap fingertips around one raised arm and then lean toward the bent elbow side of the body. Feeling a nice long stretch from your footprint on the floor all the way through the side body to the wrist that has fingers encircled around it. Breathe. And slowly come back to neutral. Reverse your grip, wrapping fingers around opposite wrist. And then breathing to stretch the elongated side of the body and lean into your bent elbow. Pausing here long enough to take a nice, easy breath. Slowly come back to standing upward salute. And release fingertips slowly back down to your sides. We'll stay with our standing postures. We'll turn back toward the seat of the chair. Maybe you never left that, that's fine. And we'll take half lift. You can get there through a swan dive and forward hinge, or just simply lean over and place your fingertips onto the seat of the chair. We'll walk the footprints back so that the shoulders are now a bit further behind the wrists sitting upon the seat of the chair. We're not looking to have the shoulders directly stacked over the wrists in this start position. Bring your footprints a little closer together. And keep your handprints a little wider across the surface of the chair seat. Anchor down, externally rotating the shoulders, settling width into the front of the chest, and letting your gaze rest lightly in the space between your thumbs upon the seat of the chair. And from here, we'll press firmly into one footprint and let the other footprint start to slide back and perhaps even leave the earth. You can take it all the way to hip height if that feels comfortable and flows for your body. And then we'll send that footprint back down to rest next to the other. Gently shift your weight and proceed to the other side to lift. Slow and steady, feeling minimal shift at the hips. We're staying strong through the core. Also make sure that your handprints stay evenly pressing into the seat of the chair. If you're leaning all your body weight into the foundational leg side, you're going to feel one handprint get a little heavier. We're trying to maintain equal balance between our three attachments to stability while the fourth limb floats. And if you want to add range of motion to this, after you have lengthened one leg behind you with a flexed ankle, Bring that knee into the heart center, rounding and flexing the spine and pointing your toes. And then you can flex the ankle, press the leg long behind you, and return to our 4-point stance in halfway lift. And switch to the other side. Flexing to lift the leg long behind you, pointing to round and flex the spine and draw the knee towards your forehead. Flex the ankle, extend behind, and return to earth. One more time on each side. Take your time here. And when both handprints and both footprints have landed to the earth, slowly transfer all the weight of the body into the footprints so the hands can leave the seat of the chair in reverse swan dive. Rise all the way to standing upward salute. We'll clasp the palms together, steeple the fingers, and you have two options with your foundation. You can continue to press the edges of the legs on the inner edges together and hold the legs in a narrow base, or if you're feeling like that's just creating too much instability, widen your stance back to hip distance before slipping into spinal extension, a standing back bend. Soften the shoulders, but hold the arms long. Soften the tension between your intertwined fingers. Soften the knee joints, holding a micro bend. And check in with the toes to ensure they've remained soft. They aren't efforting too deeply. Let your neck and head be a natural extension of the spine. There's no need to gaze straight up toward the ceiling unless your fingertips have already pointed to the horizon behind you. Just take a nice big breath. Feel the ribs expanding and flaring here. Might even get some tingling sensations in your wrists and fingers if there's tension at the shoulders. And then slowly unclasp the hands, neutralize the spine, and return to standing mountain. Let's take a little step tap here. Just let your energy flow a little from side to side, loosening up the ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, elbows, and wrists. Might even want to turn your head a little from side to side. We're trying to get all the joints to soften back up if they've been holding tension. And then coming into stillness, washing machine, shoulders and arms spinning around the axis of the spine, slow and loose. Don't forget to savor a breath before coming back into stillness. Just enjoying how your body finds just a natural ease in its alignment between the 3 planes of motion. We'll complete our practice with the sun breath, stretching the arms overhead, breaking through the clouds and finding sunshine, and then pulling it down into your heart space. Namaste.